Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a incredibly frustrating, yet kind of hidden reality that so many local service businesses face today. We call it the empty call problem. You know the exact feeling, right? You've done absolutely everything right. You've set up your shop, you've got the skills to pay the bills, but the phone just stops ringing. It's incredibly demoralizing. So in this explainer, we're going to look closely at the data, consumer behavior, and the source material to uncover exactly why this happens. And more importantly, we'll see how the mechanics of modern search basically dictate who survives and who struggles. Because as you'll see, in today's cutthroat local market, sheer visibility actually beats skill every single time. Let's ground this in a really relatable example from our source material. We'll look at a guy named Mike. Now, Mike is a fiercely dedicated plumber. He started his business with one clear, noble goal: to provide fast, reliable service to his community when people need it the absolute most. He's got his tools perfectly organized, his van is spotless, and he honestly knows his trade inside and out. But lately, well, his shop is quiet. Actually, scratch that, it's painfully silent. The phone is just sitting there on the desk, gathering dust. It's the exact kind of quiet that makes a business owner literally pick up the landline just to check if there's still a dial tone. But here's the absolute kicker, where the harsh reality of business hits hard. Even on those agonizing days with zero service calls, no emergency jobs, and no new customers walking through the door, Mike's overhead expenses, they never stop. The fuel for the vans, the payroll for the staff who are just waiting around, the equipment maintenance, the monthly rent for the shop, they all relentlessly demand to be paid, completely regardless of whether that phone rings or not. It's a massive high-pressure situation. Basically, it's a silent countdown that can drain a local business's cash reserves dangerously fast. So, this brings us to the million-dollar question we really need to unpack. Why exactly does his schedule board stay completely blank, while just down the street, his competitors are absolutely thriving? Their trucks are constantly on the move. Mike's left scratching his head, staring at an empty calendar, asking himself, why are my competitors winning the local market? What do they have that I don't? It's a huge mystery, and it's one that plagues thousands of highly skilled, hardworking professionals every single day. Now, the contrast here is absolutely fascinating. Mike originally thought that simply being a better plumber would naturally bring in the calls. You know, that old build a better mousetrap mentality. Just do consistently great work and the market will eventually reward you, right? Well, the reality outlined in our source material paints a completely different picture. His competitors weren't actually better plumbers at all. No way. In fact, some might have been noticeably worse. They were simply more visible. In the modern service industry, the prize doesn't automatically go to the best tradesperson. It goes directly to the one the customer can actually see first when they need help. To really understand why visibility is king, let's look at how people actually behave in a crisis. Imagine a homeowner whose pipe just burst. Water is actively flooding their hallway, completely ruining the hardwood floors. They whip out their smartphone and frantically type in "plumber near me." At that exact adrenaline-filled moment, they are in full-blown panic mode. Our source makes it perfectly clear. They do not scroll. They are not casually browsing down to page 2 or 3 to read comprehensive reviews or find the plumber with the absolute best resume. They urgently tap the very first few options they see on their screen. That's the whole shebang. If you aren't at the very top of that specific search, you simply do not exist to them. Now, landing those prime top spots, it isn't just about luck, and it's definitely not about hoping the algorithm simply favors your website today. The source material reveals that these premium positions, the exact ones that panicked customers inevitably click on during an emergency, are driven entirely by Google Ads. When someone frantically searches for a local service, Google's business model prioritizes these sponsored results right at the very top. It places those businesses exactly where the desperate customer's eyes naturally fall. It totally bypasses the slow crawl of traditional SEO and drops the business right at the finish line. And this brings us to a really crucial concept in digital marketing. With Google Ads, you aren't just paying for random casual clicks from people who are browsing for DIY tips or looking up plumbing diagrams for a weekend project. That's low-intent traffic, which is essentially just throwing money out the window for a service business. Instead, you're connecting directly with high-intent customers. These are people urgently searching because they have an immediate pressing problem, and they are ready to pull out their credit card and book a job right this second. Your business shows up precisely at the exact moment they need you the most. It's problem-solving visibility that matches a desperate need with an immediate solution. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. If you've spent years relying on word of mouth and have never tried navigating digital ads, this might sound super intimidating or, frankly, expensive. but the source highlights a major tactical advantage to ease that friction. To help local service businesses get off the ground, Google often offers up to $500 in ad credits for first-time advertisers. That is a powerful, incredibly low-risk head start. It lets a business test the waters, get their name straight to the top of those search results, and start capturing those high-intent calls without having to drain their own marketing budget right out of the gate. When you put this all together, it creates a total transformation for a business like Mike's. The source outlines a remarkably simple, proven 3-step process to cure the empty call problem. Step 1. You launch the targeted Google Ads campaign, making sure your keywords match those emergency searches. Step 2. You instantly gain that critical visibility at the absolute top of the search results, leaving competitors who rely on hope in the dust. Step 3. The phone actually starts ringing with high-intent customers, and you start booking a steady flow of high-paying jobs. Literally within weeks, a business can go from sitting in a quiet shop stressing over rent to dispatching a full fleet of busy, highly profitable vans. But, and this is a big but, achieving these consistent, high-quality leads requires some serious specialized expertise. You can't just throw money at the internet, set up a generic ad, and cross your fingers. If you target the wrong keywords, you'll burn through your entire budget in hours. The source material presents a specific case study for this exact kind of optimization, highlighting the work of Jay and Singh. Just look at these metrics. Over 10 years of specific experience managing these campaigns, with more than $5 million in ad spend successfully managed across over 500 projects. The source uses this to clearly illustrate that focusing on one single, targeted outcome, mastering those top search spots, is what brings real paying customers to a local service business. It really underscores the massive difference between simply buying ads and actively managing visibility. As we start to wrap up this explainer, I want you to ask yourself a really tough question about your own operation or any local business you might know. If your service calls are inconsistent and your schedule board currently has way too many blank spaces, are you letting these missed opportunities drain your hard-earned revenue? Because every single time a local customer searches for a service you provide and they click on a competitor simply because that competitor appeared at the top of the page, that is direct revenue walking right out your front door. Not because they were a better business, but simply because they were there. Visibility is literally the lifeblood of today's local business ecosystem. The source material concludes its analysis by offering a direct pathway out of this exact problem, directing local businesses to book a strategy call at www.jayant-singh.com to explore turning those empty, stressful days into fully booked schedules. Whether a business partners up with an expert or learns the ropes themselves, the core lesson remains exactly the same, which leaves us with a final, provocative thought to consider today. If your future customers are frantically searching for a solution right this very second, who are they going to find first, you or the competition? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.